another edition of Mortgage Talks. I'm your host, Adam Hires. Have a great guest on today. Looking forward to learning from him. This is just going to be another jam-packed episode of great dialogue. And, you know, if you're out there, you're trying to grow your business, this is the podcast for you. If you're, real estate agent, insurance agent, obviously a loan officer trying to grow, you know, we're all similar, and you know, we have to do similar things to grow, to be successful. And the gentleman I have on today is no exception. That he runs a great team in Kentucky as a real estate agent, and I tell you, you know, he's rapidly grew, and we're going to go through that, but very impressed by what he's done. And out there, you know, if you're starting in the game, you know, it doesn't mean you have to be a 20-year vet to start, you know, throwing up a lot of deals and helping people. At the end of the day, it's about serving the client. It's about, you know, just doing the right things day in and day out and continuing to grow. And somewhere along the line, you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure out a way to serve better, to serve more. And this guy's no exception to this. So without further ado, we have Kevin Bradley on here. Kevin, what's going on, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So Kevin, again, runs a team. You know, I've personally worked with his team. And what I'll say about Kevin is that, you know, you can tell his leadership is really good because he's got great people on his team that love to work with him. And he doesn't run a team that's got 30 people on it that don't produce. Everybody that's on his team produces well, very well. And then he's got just the right setup. What I'll say about Kevin is that, you know, I was really impressed I came to one of his meetings probably about a year and a half ago or so, and he just ran it really well. They knew what was expected. They had some fun, but they had, you know, real good dialogue back and forth of what needs to be done. And you could just tell it's an environment that is conducive to growth, not only in the real estate game, but just in a personal level. So that's what I was most impressed by the first time I was there, because I could tell you most people, you know, it's the old thing. Everybody's doing this. It's like, no, not really. Nobody's doing this, but where everybody would just be spitting out a whole bunch of deals. But that's what I'm impressed by. But Kevin, I want to, you know, just kind of tell me your story. You've been in the game for how many years? Real estate?
Well, I believe it's 7 or 8, so somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Been very fortunate. You know, prior to real estate, I started off in accounting, so I have my CPA license also.
Nice.
And then I worked several years at basically the state housing finance agency. Mm-hmm. So learned a lot of real estate there. So I was director of finance there for, I don't know, 10, 11 years. Set a pretty good foundation for me for sure.
Yeah. And you just came in. So you just decided what was the reasoning around the reason why you just said, hey, I'm now going to conquer the real estate world here?
Well, sure. It's kind of interesting because when I was at Kentucky Housing, I wanted to be CFO worse than anything. That was my job. It was, I was entitled to it. And of course, you know, different plans were laid. So ended up getting passed over when that became available. And then I had a friend on the board that says, hey, you just might want to have lunch with my friend. And so I had lunch, and you know, about 30 minutes in, I realized it was a job interview. About 30 minutes after that, I realized the job was mine. And about 30 minutes after that, I literally named my salary. Of course, you know, you only get that shot once in your life, right? Nobody ever says, what's it going to take? And you get to name a number and they hit it. So I went and I was CFO of a small nonprofit, but about 3 or 4 months in, I don't know why, it was not meant for me. I literally would get sick every single day, Monday through Friday. It would mysteriously skip Saturday and Sunday. And after I did that for a few weeks, she like, okay, this isn't it. I always said, hey, when I retire, I'll try real estate, because at that time, my wife and I, we already had a couple rental properties. Already understood the power of leveraging and using that to get rentals. And so I was like, hey, why don't I just kind of go down this path of being a real estate and retire early. Of course, I think you and I both know that's not the case. A lot of work in this profession, for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work, but you and your team, I mean, what did you close last year? Like 350,
Yeah, I think it was
380?
like 340 something.
That is amazing.
But I mean, truly, I have been blessed since the very first day that I did real estate. I got my license like in October and November. That first calendar year. So starting that following January to December, I sold 59 houses. Sold 97 the year after that, 135 the year after that, and then it's honestly just grown every year. A couple years ago it was 200 and something. Last year was 300 and something. So we've just been very fortunate. And what you said at the beginning is very true. Just always trying to stay focused on the client, focused on service. The rest of it pretty much takes care of itself.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and you could tell again, your team is on. How many you have on your team right now? How many did you have last year when you closed 346?
Well, it depends on if you count Maria or not. And for those who don't know, Maria was my first hire.
She's amazing.
And so when you're building a team, you have got to nail your first hire, because that's the person that ends up basically running the team while you're out doing what needs to be done. So Maria's licensed, but she doesn't really sell real estate in that sense. So basically, it's me and 3 other agents who did that production last year. We have since added another agent this year, and like you said, I could not be luckier as far as my team. They are all producers. I mean, every single one of them had more than 40 transactions last year. That's pretty good in the real estate world.
No, that's excellent. I know that you don't toot your own horn because, anybody knows Kevin. I mean, you really don't. To be honest with you, I didn't know how much Kevin was even doing. And he was, right at the top of the game, just didn't know because, there wasn't all these braggadocious posts everywhere and all this going. He was just over there serving clients and growing. And I was like, whoa, this guy's doing something remarkable to come in 7 years to have 346 transactions, only have 3 other agents that are producing. That is phenomenal. That, anybody listening to this is like, probably like, wow, that is phenomenal. So, again, this is not just a love fest to pump you up. This is true. This is, true admiration for the fact of you did that. And you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. And just like I have Alicia, which is on my team, it's kind of, one that the centerpiece that, keeps everything together and runs the team and helps everything go along. You have to have those pieces. And Maria is excellent. You got a great one there. But you started building a culture. So I know you hired correctly. So obviously you hired good people. I know them. They're good people. They're motivated. But there's obviously some things being done there as well to cultivate that, to continue to grow. What do you think that those key pieces have been?
Well, I mean, real estate is no different than really any other profession that you're in, or pretty much you put your head down, you treat people right, you work hard, always put the client first in front of any decisions you make, and honestly, the rest of it tends to work out. I mean, I get calls all the time and like, how do you do this or how do you do that? I mean, there are no magic bullets. there's not some magic script that I have that I read that, makes people want to buy or sell. I think it's truly cultivating that trust. But basically it comes down to, if number one, if people got to like you, people got to trust you. If they like you and trust you, then they're going to use you at some point, as long as they think you can bring value. So you get them to like, get them to trust, prove your value. When that time comes, they're going to use you. And that's essentially what we try to do. I mean, there's tons of stuff that we do that, we don't have any anticipation of getting paid on, that's fine. It's to help people. And people remember that. And again, so I'm always looking for people that kind of have that same mindset of, client always comes first. The moment you start thinking about that commission, you're done for.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, you always have to, the client comes first. And I think that's something that can't be glossed over, because I think there is so many people that, it's like, well, how much are going to make off this? I'm the same way. I don't, if somebody's going to do an $80,000 loan and I can help them, or they're a $500,000 loan. At the end of the day, I don't look at it like, okay, well, I'm making this amount of money off somebody or this. It's just, if you can serve them, you serve them the best you can, and you treat them right. But I do think that one thing that you probably have that you, it's a good thing, but you suffer from is like the curse of knowledge, right? Like you've been doing it so well that you sometimes we don't realize how we do things differently sometimes, because you're doing things differently than other people. Not just, but I think it led with, like you're saying, right? It led with the client comes first, and then you just your mind started working, right? It started working, and like, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And that led to one step after another step. And it led you down the path of things that you do now, and your team probably does naturally. The other people would come in and go, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, because you led with the first of it's service. And then it just kept compiling into more things you can do to help the client. So, that's what I see. And it's a systematic, right?
Yeah. And, and probably one of my greatest things that I like about, just knowing that, of the numbers that we did, I mean, probably 2/3, if not more, of that has all come from referrals or repeat clients. And, there's nothing better than getting that call again, that you did the job well the first time.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're with the person in that moment too, there's also no better time to get a referral to somebody else while you're fresh in them, while you're going through the process. I think a lot of agents kind of miss that too. It's, the moment you've got your client in front of you, that's the moment that they're on fire for you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kevin. Most agents, what I'll find is, and this is loan officers the same way. So it's not like picking on, you're just a real estate agent. So loan officers, and I was guilty of this, the current client referrals. You just said it, you're sitting there working with them, and agents, loan officers oftentimes do not ask for a referral while they're in a process of looking for another home. And I think what that comes back to, and what came back for me sometimes, is like, I don't deserve it yet because I haven't finished the job. However, that's a huge mind shift that you have to go, hey, I know I'm going to serve them. I'm serving them now. And just for us, if I have a client that doesn't have a good credit score and I'm advising what to do, why can I not ask for a referral? I'm still helping them. But I think that's one thing that's you do naturally, and your team maybe does naturally, but out there, I'm telling you, that's not being done. Current client referrals are a huge mess with people all the time. They just don't ask. And it's after they close, then they ask. And it's like, well, you said it. They have the reticular activator, right? In their brain. Everybody, once you get a Toyota Camry, everybody's got a Toyota Camry. Once you're going to buy a home, everybody's going to buy a home. They recognize and they see it. And it's a big missed opportunity I think people are having out there.
And especially in this market too, as a real estate agent, obviously right now, inventory is a little bit shallow out there, would be a nice way to say that.
Little.
Um, we're at the point now, you've got to show value. I mean, there are so many things that we can offer value on that will make you stand out. So,
yeah. What's a value piece? Not to give everything away. What's a value thing? What you think you give a
sure.
value? Yeah.
Like for instance, a piece of value would be like, agents, they have a coming soon status now.
Mm.
Agents are able to see homes that are coming soon. The public can't.
Right.
So, there's an item of value right now. I know 3 or 4 homes that are coming on the market that, Mr. and Mrs. Smith aren't aware of. My list of contractors. When somebody has something go wrong, I want everybody to call me regardless of what the issue is.
Yeah.
If somebody has a plumber, call me, I'll send you a plumber, or I'll give you the name and number. Because again, that's another way I'm consistently bringing value. So they might not sell for 3, 5, 7 years, but guess what? When they do, they're going to remember, oh, okay, Kevin, he's been our go-to for everything that is home related. And that's what I want.
That's huge. I think there's so many. Yeah, there's so much to uncover there, but yeah, that happens all the time, right? Like people get annoyed, almost like for me, right? Every year, I get several calls where people are like, oh my gosh, I got this bill in the mail, right? That I have to pay my taxes. Some loan officers get annoyed with that. I'm cool with it. Everybody can call me. It's just they're they're calling me, and I'm answering that question, and I'm having another conversation, and it's okay. It's a great conversation. So, when a client calls me and says, hey, I'm having a problem because, like I had one other day where they're having a problem with the roads. They're going to have to, all of a sudden they're going to have to pay the bill, which actually is happening here too. Like all of a sudden they're trying to put this bill and I have to get a lawyer. Right. So I'm like, hey, I'm kind of going through something similar. That's not an annoyance for me. Hey, that's great. You're calling me because you trust me, and it's great to have trust, and it's a long-term game. Unless you're in a short-term, I'm gonna get out of this in a year. I mean, that's one thing, but still serve people. But 5 years down the road, whatever, they're gonna come back to you, and it's just the right thing to do. So,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So, um, what is so you have obviously some bigger goals. What is there some hurdles you think you have to get past to get to those goals? How are you going about that? What's the challenge for you?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for most goals, right, is just your mindset.
Mm,
You
yep.
know, when you think about it, like for instance, if my first year, if I had said, okay, I'm going to sell 300 something houses, that's just overwhelming.
Right.
And how do you do it? You do it, one step at a time.
Yeah.
That's what I try to teach a lot of my agents too is, hey, you know what, if you can show up and we can just concentrate on doing one transaction a week, serving one family a week, getting them where they need to be, either selling their house or, helping them buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? At the end of the year, you've done 52 sides.
Yeah.
Which again is, 5 times more than the average real estate agent.
It is.
I think the last stat I read, average agent does between 8 to 10 houses a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in Georgia, I pulled the 2000 list, right? There's 2000 in the area. And, I can tell you that in that, the qualifiers like 10 buyer sides to be in that list. But if you get up to that 40 and 50, you're well up that list. I mean, anywhere you go, any market, Kentucky, Georgia, anywhere you go, you're going to be up that list pretty well. So, it is about that consistency. So, I love that. I mean, there's no tricks, but I think that, I believe that when you go from the mindset of I am the one that controls this, and we can't be conducive of just what the market's giving us. We're going to create, we're going to serve. You just find ways, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Sure. And you got to execute. I mean, again, like there's a difference between knowing what you should do and doing what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
like everybody knows that, hey, we should reach out to our database. Everybody knows we should work our sphere. Everybody know,
Yeah.
but you got to do it. And I'm not even that great at working mine. I need to be better. I'm a big believer in making all those connections, because again, every time I do reach out to my sphere, guess what? It's like it falls from the tree. It's like I end up getting 4 or 5, referrals and that kind of stuff. Like real estate agents, we all know we're supposed to farm. We all know, you can go door, all that stuff, but you just got to block out time. You've got to do it. You just got to do it bite by bite. If you look at the whole thing and say, I got to digest this entire, you're thinking, how is it possible? But you break it down into pieces. It's a mental. It really is for folks.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to probably block out a couple hours a day, right? Just pick something, pick some targets that they're calling that day. And database is huge. Well, I think the average is like, I think the poll is like 84% say they'll use the real estate agent the next time, and 18% actually do. Mm-hmm. And it's just because there's no follow-up. I mean, I know that we all like to think we're the most important person in the world, but they can even forget our names. I mean, that it's just part of it. There's, who was that again? Then you're losing the deal because you're not following up. And, a lot of people rely on the CRMs, right? It's like, we're sending them emails. It's like, well, I mean, still nothing beats just a complete outreach by you, right? I mean, when you're actually calling them instead of an email, it's and just like you can create opportunities, right? Like for me, for example, I called a client and he's like, I was like, what's your goals in the future? And it came up to where his whole family had owned rentals. And he's like, well, what do I do? And I was like, how long are you going to be at because he didn't really have the huge amount of money saved. And so we ended up talking, and he's like, wait, I can buy my next one as a primary if I rent this one out. And I was like, yes. And he's like, oh my God, why didn't I think about that? Well, that's why I'm here. Right. So I just created an opportunity for him. Now he's like, okay, I'm going to buy that other piece of property. And that's just the way conversations go sometimes, when you just say, you have any real estate questions? I mean, it's really simple. It's not complicated. I just say, do you have any mortgage related questions? And they're going to say, hey, you want to have this. And then it leads to another conversation. Right. And that's a huge piece of it. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing for me is just like, what would be, if you're going back, let's just go back. You became very successful early. You said 59 in the first 12 months, which is absolutely phenomenal. What would you have done differently in that first year? And what did you do? And maybe what did you do possibly even better then that you do now? Because I think sometimes we go, maybe I did something even better then that I didn't do now. Is there anything there?
Sure. Well, I mean, they're obviously, as far as what I could have done better is definitely start off. I mean, again, I know I just talked about it, but your sphere of influence, your database is absolute gold. I really didn't start working mine until about 3 years in. But at that point, I already had a pretty deep database. And then I still don't even work mine consistently. But that I would have set that up initially, because like you said, I mean, it's all those touches. And of course, I don't know if you've read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Yep.
I actually read that, prior to becoming, joining up with Keller Williams. But I'm a numbers guy, and so those numbers really spoke to me as far as, okay, if I can touch a person this many times a year, then I know that 7% of these folks are going to do something in some way every year, refer me or use me. Then you start thinking, okay, now I got a database full of 1,000, 2,000, whatever the number is. You start doing thinking, okay, that's 100 and something. It really is golden there. And we've been very fortunate to get a whole lot of referrals, but imagine how many I could have if I had actually tried to work my database.
Yeah.
The numbers would probably be even greater, I would think.
You ever had that pain where you call somebody and they just bought a home?
Oh yeah.
That's a horrible, right? I think we've all been there. It's like, oh man, like where are we on that one, Adam? That's what I'm thinking.
That's
Yeah,
right.
seriously.
Or you look up and you're Facebook friends with somebody and they just bought a house and you're like, what the heck? And you're like, well, it's probably because I hadn't reached out in 2 years.
Mm.
Again, it is very top of mind.
Well, here's the key differentiator, and I think any top producer, and I think this way, you're thinking this way exactly because you just said it, is that guess whose fault you made that? Yourself. The biggest problem in, you said it, mindset, is that I hear agents, I hear loan officers blame the client because they didn't use them. And if you're a trip hammer, you're just, that's your set to where you always just default to blaming the client. You're never going to grow the way you want. As soon as somebody doesn't use you, what could I have done better? Well, hey, it was my fault. I didn't reach out for 2 years. Well, I did a great job from 2 years ago. Why didn't they use me? Well, the first blame should be like, okay, why didn't I reach out to them in 2 years, right? And I think you said it. I mean, that's why you're successful, because you are going, hey, this is on me. This is my fault, not the client's fault because they decided not to use me the next time.
You're right. I mean, clients only know what's in front of them. It is my job to impart my value. And those times I didn't.
Yeah.
Because, and again, not to sound self-righteous, but I mean, I truly think I am the best solution for anybody's real estate needs. I know it sounds like I have an ego and stuff, but I mean, I truly believe I will work harder than anybody will work for people. And if I can't convey that, then that's my fault.
Yeah.
I don't have any excuse, but you're right. I mean, it's you got to look at yourself, because believe me, even though we sell homes, that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. We fix the ones that we caused, and we fix ones that we didn't cause. But at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't come back to us, it's our fault. It's not their fault.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, very well said. And I don't look at it as ego because you think I think somebody's crazy not to use us, right? I mean, that's because you have confidence in what you're going to do, what your team's going to do, how they're going to operate, how we're going to put the client first. We all should, if you don't feel that way, then you need to fix some internal stuff. You need to fix whatever you got going on your team. You're going to need to fix something there if you don't feel that way as well. So I don't think that's arrogant at all. I think that's what you should feel. But I love the second piece of that. Again, huge critical guys and gals out there, is the second piece. What Kevin said is, we can do that. It's my fault I didn't convey it well enough, because we can think that, we can know that, but if we don't convey it the way it builds rapport with them, then we got to always look at that as internal of what could we have done better? How could we communicate differently? How could we communicate more? How could we communicate sooner? All that stuff we can always dial in. So I absolutely love it. So Kevin, now if somebody's in Kentucky and they want to reach you and buy or sell, how are they going to reach you?
Sure. Easiest would be one or two ways. Number one would be my cell phone, 859-619-9896, 859-619-9896. Can you tell I'm a salesman? Repeat that nice,
yes.
Slow.
I love it.
And then of course too, we are super easy. If you Google us, Facebook us, I mean, it's if we've done our job right, we will come up in those search results right at the top, to reach out to us in any way that works best for people. We would love the opportunity to serve them.
Absolutely. I love it, Kevin. Any parting words, any advice you want to give before we jump out?
Oh, I don't have any wise words of wisdom, that's for sure. Again, you just gotta think you can do it. Put your head down, work hard, and again, like I said, always put the client first. Because lots of agents I talk to, they all talk about I didn't get paid this or I lost that, or
Yeah.
and that's I think that's the beginning of the end when you start thinking about it in a transaction standpoint, as opposed to a service standpoint.
Absolutely. It's like the go giver, the greatest gift we can give is ourselves. And if you're a new real estate agent out there and you're going against an agent that has been doing it for years and they've lost sight of that, that's why you can gain that client when they don't, because they can tell that, they can smell that on you. They can smell that commission breath. They can see that you're not in it for
Oh, right.
them. And once you lose that, I don't care how many deals you do. If Kevin doing 350 transactions a year, or serving, I should say, serving that many clients a year, loses sight of that, he will start to go back down. But when he consistently does that, he's going to consistently keep going up. So just take that and run with it. Kevin, absolutely a pleasure to have you on here. I know the listeners are going to get a lot out of that, and they're going to be like, wow, that's big. That's inspiring to be able to rise that rapidly. Just put your head down, guys and gals, serve the client, and keep finding out ways to serve the client. You're going to be just fine.
All right.
So remember, guys and gals, limited risk equals limited income.